Hey guys, how's it going today? Sunday today. And guess where I am? I'm in the shop. I'm always in the shop. Like I've said in previous videos, the shop is my life. I love the shop. It's not work if you enjoy what you're doing, and I do enjoy what I'm doing. It's just it's kind of my hobby. It's my lifestyle. It's everything for me. But anyway, that's besides the point. So what am I working on now? Well, I fixed my van yesterday, and yes, it's fixed. So I figured now is a good time to start taking that Kia apart that I bought. Remember, I bought a Kia Soul from a customer of mine that blew the engine. I got it at a decent price. You know, she got what she wanted for it, and I got it for what I wanted it for. So I was looking for a Kia Soul at auction because the motors are expensive. I mean, god-awful expensive. So I found one. It was a rollover, and it's only got 60,000 miles on it. I mean, I paid a good dollar for the car, and but I anticipated it because it's only got, like I said, 60,000 miles on it. But it really has no usable body panels on it. Let me show you the car. So here it is. I drove it in. The battery's stone dead. We jump started it. And as anticipated, because it is a rollover, it blew some smoke out the tailpipe. No big deal. That should clear up because the motor sounds fine. And a lot of times when you have a rollover, you'll get oil and stuff going into the combustion chamber, into the PCV system, gets sucked through. That's kind of normal. By the time we got it into the shop, the smoke was gone. So I'm not even concerned about it. So, but as you can see, obviously, roof is no good. These windows are blown out, so the interior is full of water because we left it sitting outside. You can't close the windows. Can't close the doors. Fenders are damaged. I'm going to save the headlights. The bumper cover is no good on the front, but I'm going to save the headlights, even though they're kind of scratched up, just in case something happens to the headlights on mine. At least I'll have a replacement right away. Because I don't even know if I can get, I'm sure I can get aftermarket ones, but I'm not quite sure how much they're going to cost. But I'm going to wind up pulling the engine and tranny as an assembly. I'm going to save the radiator condenser. I'm going to suck down the AC. I'm going to save every piece I possibly can from this car. Let's see. I'm not going to bother with the windshield, but I'm going to take the mirrors off. Let's see what else. Oh, I got rims and tires for it because I need 2 tires for the one that I bought, and this thing actually has decent tires. So I'm going to have those. And the interior is in decent shape. Like I said, it's soaking wet on the other side because it's been open. This steering wheel's in better shape than the one in the car I bought. So I'm going to swap over to steering wheels. Let's see what else. The seats are actually nice, except this one's got something on the bottom there. So I don't know if I can get a new cover or whatever. I think the seats are okay in mine. I don't remember there being an issue. I haven't looked at it in a while. But really the only good body panels on this are the tailgate, the tail lights, these filler panels here, and the rear bumper cover seems to be fine. So I'm going to save all of that stuff. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start ripping the motor and tranny out of this thing. Like I said, I got to get the AC machine over here, suck down the AC, make sure that's okay, drain all the fluids and whatnot, and go from there. But that's the job for today, get this disassembled. I'm also going to take this battery out and I'm going to put it on a charger, and hopefully it comes out okay. It's stone dead. It's stone dead. May not have any water in it either because it may have leaked out when this thing rolled over. Although it looks like it rolled over and landed back on its wheels. I don't see any marks from it like being dragged. A lot of times you'll see marks from it being dragged or whatever and getting flipped back over, and I don't see any of that. So this thing could have just rolled onto its side and then back over. Although it's kind of weird that the mirrors aren't broken off of it. So not exactly sure what occurred here. Who knows? Whatever. Let's get it apart. Just on the beginning of the disassembly, the air filter is full of oil. Like I said, this is relatively normal. When the car gets rolled over, you'll get oil from the PCV system here, or even the breather or whatever. It winds up in the intake tract. So it gets sucked through the motor. It can even wind up in the air filter housing, which is very, very common. You can see some down there. But nothing to worry about for me. Like I said, once I got it inside, the smoke had stopped, running smooth. Cooling system seems good. Everything's full. So I'm not worried about that. I did have to add oil when it first came in because I did check it when it came in on the truck. And I think I added 2 quarts of it at a time. But like I said, completely normal on a car that's a rollover. Got the headlights out. I got the bumper cover out. I got the coolant draining right now. And what I'm going to do is I got the AC sucked down. So I'm going to disconnect the lines here. I'm going to try to do this as easy as possible. Just get off whatever I can. The bumper beam's going to come off. And let's see what else. But yeah, I'm going to disconnect any electrical connectors for like the cooling fan and stuff like that. This is an ambient temperature sensor. Disconnect that, get that out of the way. But what I'm going to try to do is take this whole front piece out as a module, because it looks like it's just everything's assembled into it. So I got to see the tranny cooler lines are right there. You can see the one, so the other one shouldn't be too far away. But I'm thinking once I get everything disconnected, I should be able to take that whole piece out as an assembly. So let's get that going and see how that goes. All right, so I wound up having to take the radiator and condenser out as an assembly. It would have come out with this, but this support is actually tweaked. It's bent at both bottoms. I didn't realize this is actually tin or some kind of metal, but it's bent up here a little bit. It's bent down the corners, and it was basically jamming everything up. So it's easier to just take the radiator and condenser out, basically, because everything was already off. It was just 2 screws here, 2 screws here, and the whole thing came out. So now, taking this off, there is 2 screws up here, a screw that comes in on the side, same thing over here. I undid the hood cable, and now this whole thing should basically just pop off. Okay. It's held in with a couple of clips underneath still. I'm going to have to get those. I didn't anticipate that. So we're just going to stick this back in place temporarily. Now, obviously, I don't care if I scratch this thing because of all the damage on it anyway. So let's just put in a screw on each side just to hold it, because I don't want it to fall on my head when I have it up in the air. So just a screw in each corner here. Hopefully this is coming out on the video. I don't know. And yeah, so all right, let's go and put this up in the air. All right, so basically there's just a 10 here, a 10 here, a 10 here, and a 10 here. Take those out and this whole thing should be able to come out once I let it down. So let's zip these out real quick. Come on. Now, one thing I do too is when I take apart a car that's going to be junk, I save all the hardware. I'll even take out extra hardware just to have it, because I tell you what, this stuff comes in handy. So, okay, that's all out. So let me let this down. All right, let's try this again. Take these out. I just put in just to hold it. I said you don't have to tighten it down. It's just keeping it from falling. Now these motors are supposed to come out through the bottom. You know what? I'll do it this way and pull right out the front. Now look at all that room you got. I mean, that's a ton of room. So originally I was going to save this piece, but it's bent, so it's like no point. But I will strip it down and take the piece of hood cable off of it and take any hardware off of it that I might need. But let's see. Let's come off of the tripod here. So now, I mean, I can unbolt everything and pull this out this way. So that just makes my life that much easier. Let's see, what else? I'm going to save the AC lines. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to save on this. I'm going to take the ABS module out, but I might take the master out. I don't know yet. But yeah, because I mean, I could use all this stuff for the other car if I need it. You know, why buy if I don't need to? You know, I already have it. I already paid for it technically. So, all right, let's continue getting this apart. And if I come across anything that's odd, I will show you. When I go to actually do the swap into the other car, I'll make a little more detailed video than this. This is just kind of, I don't really care about this car anymore, so I'm ripping this one apart. Kind of, not willy-nilly, I am doing it precisely, but, you know, I'm not doing it as nicely as I should. Let's put it that way. Now, pulling these connectors off the PCM, I had a bear of a time getting them to come free. These are the latch style. They have this latch on the side, and as you push it down in place and go with the latch, it locks it down in place. But you come up and you're supposed to just be able to release it. Well, they didn't want to come out. So I was sitting there blowing around with compressed air to try to release any dirt that might get stuck in there. And I also sprayed it down with WD-40 to try to penetrate into the seal, because a lot of times the seal, you can see it, the orange right there, that gets stuck inside and won't release. So a little helpful tip here too is when you're putting it together, if you have a silicone spray, take a silicone spray and spray it lightly, just like around the edges of the connector, you know, up around here and stuff like that. And it'll help you when you're going back together, because sometimes it's a bear going back together too. Now what's this contraption I got going on here? All right, I got the fuel pump relay jumped. There's the fuel line. This thing has a half tank of gas. And I have a booster pack hooked up to it. And basically, I am using the factory pump to drain the fuel out. That's an old piece of fuel line. Actually, it's not an old piece of fuel line. It's a piece of nylon line that I had that fits inside and locks into the O-ring. It's not locked in. It could slide out, but there's no pressure behind it, so it's not going to push it out. So I have that hooked up there, the booster pack. Now, anytime you're doing something like this, you got to be careful. You don't want to create sparks. That could lead to a really bad day. So basically, I hooked everything up, and then I turned it on with the switch that's on the booster box there. This way, there's less of a chance of any type of a spark. I don't want to jump the relay with that wire, because that's a way to create a spark. Obviously, the switch could create a spark, but it's less likely that anything's going to happen. So I'm going to fill this up. This way, I save the gas. I stuck it in my own car. I paid for it, right? Now, when doing a swap like this, on some cars, the harness on the engine will have a bulkhead connector, so you can actually separate the engine harness from the rest of the vehicle. This one is not like that. So on this one, I'm basically going to take the harness off in the car and just lay it off to the side. I don't like cutting anything. Yeah, I could cut the harness down there. But what if I need something from the harness and I need that section? I just never like cutting it unless I absolutely have to. And then the other thing is, there's a difference between federal emissions and California emissions. And so it could have two cats. This one does have two cats. I believe this has got California emissions on it. A lot of cars have California emissions. But the other thing too is, if I'm going from one way to the other, I may have to take the cats from that vehicle that I have, the one that I bought that I'm going to use. I also may have to take the injectors off and switch those, because they may be calibrated slightly different, different pound rating or whatever. I've seen that before where somebody switches it over and it has too light of an injector and the car will have a misfire. Can't figure it out. Well, yeah, it's because it's the wrong injectors technically. So I'm going to take all this harness off and tuck it off to the side while this thing's still draining fuel. All right, like I said, I'm going to make a more detailed video the next time when I go do the other car. This is just kind of a quickie, pull everything out. I left the axles in place. This side I actually zip tied up to the block. The reason I did that is because of the weight of this axle, because it's so long. I don't want it to possibly ruin the inner joint. Not that it would ruin it, but it'll come apart and just makes it a pain in the neck to put back together. And sometimes you have to deal with getting another boot on there or taking that boot apart. I don't want to do it if I don't have to. So that's the reason for that, because otherwise it'll hang down like this side and the tripod that's in here can actually come apart. So I try to avoid that at all, if at all possible. What I did was I took the sway bar end links, the bottoms out. This way the axles can come forward like this. This way when I pull this whole thing out, they can just come out with it. Let's see. I got the exhaust out. This is the cat. So we're going to take the whole exhaust out later. We're going to leave it in there for right now. But basically, I am ready to come out with this thing. Just let it down, and then I got the engine mount on that side and the tranny mount on that side. So there I got a chain hooked up to the factory hook points here, or pull points, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to be grabbing this with the hoist probably closer to this end because I've got the added weight of the tranny on here. I doubt very highly it'll be balanced if I go in the center here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook that up. I'm going to take this mount out. I got to take this bracket out because this bracket's not going to clear this bracket that's on the frame, because I'm going to have to go underneath it. So I'll take this bracket off of here and then allow the whole thing to come out underneath. I'll take this bracket out too completely so I don't have to worry about anything hanging up. Yeah, so let's get that hooked up and let's see how it goes. So there I got the 3 bolts out there. You can see they're missing, and then coming over on this side, I got that bracket completely out. So this thing is just swinging from the engine hoist technically. So let me see if I can prop my tripod up in a way, and this way you can see me actually yank this out of here. All right, here goes nothing. Okay. Axle on this side hitting something. No. Just the zip ties weren't strong enough and they tore right away. Okay. I thought they'd be strong enough. That's what happens when you buy cheap zip ties and you need good ones. Right. Still catching something. AC compressor, I think? Yeah, that's it. It's catching the AC compressor. So how much of this can you see? Okay. it's out. I mean, realistically, that wasn't that difficult. Especially taking this stuff off in the front. You know, everything on the nose there with the radiator condenser and whatnot. I mean, to get the radiator condenser, all that other stuff out in that front piece, I think it maybe took me an hour. Maybe. It wasn't that difficult. I'd rather take out more stuff and make my life easier than to try to fight working around something and not take it off. Sometimes it's just not worth it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to button this car up so I can get the wheels back on it so I can push it outside. Because there's more stuff I want to take off of this, just not going to do it right now. The engine and that I got to put off to the side in the shop. This way I can, you know, fiddle with it when I got time. Because I got to get the other car in and pull that one apart. But that's not going to be... I might actually do that on Christmas. I don't even know yet. Yeah, I'll work Christmas too. But I might do it. I don't know. I got to see. That car's going to be for Meg, so she may want to work on cleaning it out while I'm doing that. So, I mean, it's not a big deal if she wants to. But yeah, so that's it. So this is just a quick and dirty video, basically. Nothing spectacular. So if you're getting something out of my videos, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. See, I can't do it. Tell your friends to subscribe also. I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Keep wrenching.